Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com. It is 1464, and a war is being fought over the throne of England.
Your life will not be easy because you wish it to be so. You will know loss. You must be stronger.
Two sides of the same family are in a vicious clash for power. Three powerful women become the center of the conflict in The White Queen.
Hi, I'm Salim.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Sean. We're going to talk about the new STARZ series, The White Queen. We've gotten a chance to catch the first 3 episodes. We've all just seen it, and I want to welcome Lisa Johnson Mandell as a guest reviewer. Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm the film critic for The Mike Huckabee Show, which is a radio show that airs on about 220 Cumulus stations. And I'm also the Hollywood correspondent for HGTV's FrontDoor.com. And I'm really psyched to talk about The White Queen today. It's based on a historical fiction series by Philippa Gregory on the War of the Roses, also known as the Cousins' War.
Well, this show is going to draw immediate comparisons to Game of Thrones, even though it's not that apt in terms of comparisons. Yes, we have an Old English setting, yes, we have strong female characters, and yes, it does deal with magic, but that's about as far as it goes, because Game of Thrones takes place in a fictionalized setting, whereas this takes place in England in 1464.
It's more female-centric. I suppose they're trying to bring in a female audience that maybe Game of Thrones doesn't have. It's got a little bit more romance, which seems more like lust in my opinion, but there's a little bit more romance, and of course, there's a little less violence in it. So
a lot less violence.
A lot less violence.
Well, I think the comparison is better made with maybe the Borgias or the Tudors, because those are historical fiction as well. And unlike Game of Thrones, which is based on a fantasy novel, people who know that time in history actually know where this is going to go. And for me, that's part of the fun, because you know what's coming, and you can see excellent foreshadowing.
I noticed that, but then for someone like me who doesn't really know what is happening, you're trying to figure out who is the story about. Like, the first episode I really enjoyed because it has this love story between Elizabeth and King Edward, which I believed, even though it took place very quickly, but it felt real in this world. But as we go to the second and third episode, it takes place over about 4 to 5 years. There's a lot of plot, and it really doesn't give us time to breathe. I'm not sure by the end of the third episode where the show is going.
I agree. I mean, we have Elizabeth Woodville is really the main character, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and then she gets married to the king in the pilot, and then I'm not sure where she has to go after that. She's the setup to all this conflict, and then what is she doing in episodes 2 and 3 other than really getting pregnant and having children? I'm not really sure that she has much of a place to go in this series.
I have to have you, and if you will not be my mistress, then you must marry me. To marry me. It is the only way. I'm mad for you.
I think what they could have done ahead of time is emphasize the fact to viewers that this is about 3 different women. One is the White Queen, one is the Red Queen, and one is the Kingmaker's daughter. And the latter 2 were just barely introduced in the first 3 episodes, so that's where it gets a little bit confusing. But these times in history are very confusing. The Yorks, the Lancasters, the Plantagenets, the War of the Roses, they're all related anyway. That's why it's called the Cousins' War. So it's confusing to almost everybody.
Sure.
Rebecca Ferguson, who plays Elizabeth, she's wonderful. She has to play this waifish character at the very beginning, but then she obviously has this very huge arc that she's going to go through, and she has the strength to really go deep when she needs to go deep.
As I was reading these books, and I'm a historical fiction nut, and I love Philippa Gregory, so I've read everything, and as I was reading them, she is exactly how I pictured the White Queen.
We also have Max Irons playing King Edward IV.
Son of Jeremy Irons.
Son of Jeremy Irons, yes, which is a reversal of fortune, if you will. He's good. I like him. I do think that with all of these, double crosses and things going on, that it feels like maybe some of the supporting characters are actually a little bit more interesting than the 2 main characters that we have. I really like James Frayne, who plays Lord Warwick, the Kingmaker. He's very, very good in a supporting role. And then the other women here, Amanda Hale as Lady Margaret Beaufort is terrific.
She's
a star.
These are different times, Lady Margaret. Lancaster brought us only war. King Edward will bring us peace.
He is a pretender. He has taken the throne by force.
He is the king, and those who speak against him are guilty of treason.
All right, so the first 3 episodes are all written by Emma Frost, and they're all directed by James Kent. If you're not used to a lot of dialogue, this might be a slow show for you.
But one thing that I loved about this show that I could tell they were really trying to do something different is how much of a focus it is on the female characters.
Yes.
We have a scene that I thought was wonderful where we have Elizabeth and her mother and the Duchess of York. And it's 3 powerful female figures trading intellectual jabs, which you usually see with 3 male characters. The female characters are at the forefront, and we have the male characters that are in the background, which is different. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that before. The White Queen is a breath of fresh air with some really wonderful acting, but the first 3 episodes don't have a proper footing, so I say stream it.
If you're interested in the premise and you don't mind the slow pace of historical drama, there's something here for you to check out. Stream it.
Having read and loved the source material, the TV adaptation is everything I hoped it would be and more. I say see it.
All right, our votes add up to 2 full tickets, which is a stream it for The White Queen.
Cheers. God save the Queen. What are we talking about?
It's getting hot in here.
Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com.